problem exists in every single household today in the country, right? People are going through acidity issues, gastric issues, bloating issues, constipation. But unfortunately, solutions around it so far have always been symptomatic in nature. And hence, people have not been able to resolve the problem so far. So they go through these issues, they take a symptomatic treatment, and sort of are stuck in this vicious cycle. Microbiome science, which is basically the science of gut bacterial diversity and how that sort of affects the root cause of certain digestive and metabolic issues, was the genesis of the good bug. To sort of bring the science to the world, to bring it to consumers, go to the root cause of these problems and help consumers at large. So for us at the good bug, I think over the last 15, 16 months we've been in the market, we've really been able to solve pertinent problems that customers have been facing for years, trying to find solutions around it, but not had a solution. And that was really the reason to go after it. So a lot of deep science R&D work for us went on for a few years to understand bacterial cultures, probiotics, how they sort of play out in your gut, and then building a lineup of products and solutions to address it.
In India, about 200 million people have mental health problems, and that needs professional support. India has the highest rate of suicides among 15 to 29-year-olds, second highest, and it's one of the few countries the rates are going up. Where the rest of the world suicide rates are coming down, India the suicide rates are actually going up, especially in that age group of young people. And when you look at that dynamic of saying that's the size we're talking about, something has to be done about it. There's no systemic solution that exists today in that space to solve for that. And for some of us who've been working in this space for the last 2 decades, it felt like this was the right time to really start thinking about the next stage of the country's evolution. Right? As we grow in our GDP, as we grow in our companies, grow in numbers of employees they work with, mental health is going to keep playing a bigger and bigger part in every part of our life. So how do we then take it out of a marginalized field within healthcare and say, this is a mainstream problem across all aspects of our life, whether it's relationships, whether it's livelihood, whether it's parenting, all parts of our life are impacted by this. So how do we actually take this problem of huge numbers that impacts all parts of our life and bring it more mainstream? And that was the reason for behind bringing Amaha to, let's say, our 3 A's really stand for appropriateness, affordability, and accessibility of mental health. So, right, how do we actually make mental health more accessible, affordable, and appropriate to the different stages in the user's journey? This is like the academic business answer, but if I just look in this room and say, all of us at some level are going to get impacted by this if we've been lucky enough not to be impacted by mental health difficulties already. Whether it's within our family or within our friend circle or within our workplace, we'll know somebody today who's experiencing a challenge. So again, this is one of those needs that cut across socioeconomic spaces, contexts, and we thought this was the right time for building. So that's the broad answer.
The first version of our solution took us almost 12 months of conceptualizing, designing, developing, and then we were able to roll it out. And with any complex problem, to solve it, you need to really break it into layers. Now, to give an analogy, if you look at Google Maps, right, it's a very simple, it's an incredibly simple application to use. People use it among other things to go from point A to point B. But if you look at that app, it really hides extremely complex algorithms inside. So there are different layers of map. There is a satellite view, there is a road view, there are bus maps, there are train routes, etc. It's packed together and it speaks to many devices. So there is a satellite, there is your gyroscope, there are your phone cameras and so on, right? And then on top of it lies a very complex algorithm, routing algorithm, which tells you how to reach from point A to point B in the fastest manner. Similarly at Fitterfly, we've broken down the problem into multiple layers, right? Into 9 different layers. And the key layers are your nutrition, fitness, mental health, behavior change, among others, right? This we integrate with devices, with medical grade devices, so continuous glucose monitors, BP monitors, smart watches, and on top of it sits our proprietary patent pending PGR algorithm, right? It determines how does your body respond to a food, to stress, to physical activity, right? With these algorithms, we are able to define a very personalized program for an individual. So the therapy for a 40-year obese male who goes to office every day, works in a very stressful environment, will be completely different for, let's say, a 75-year-old male who leads a very sedentary lifestyle, has hypertension, thyroid, and a mix of other comorbidities, right? And we can do all of that because you've broken down into multiple layers, right? If you look at the outcomes that we have, they're the best in the industry, right? In fact, we just came back from an international conference, and our outcomes are on par or even better with some of the best companies out there.